Do you want to take control of your health? Hear the truth about dieting and weight loss? Learn the best strategies for maintaining a healthy lifestyle? This is the Yossi Muller Show.
And welcome to the show. I'm Yossi Muller.
And I'm Duddy Muller.
Duddy is a chef with a background in nutrition.
Yossi is a nutritionist with a background in nutrition.
Every show we do, we take another myth and debunk it.
We crush it.
Today's topic is, it's my fault I'm overweight. People think that if they're overweight, it's their fault. And really, it's not an overweight person's fault for being overweight.
Wait, Yossi, what do you mean it's not my fault? How can you say something like that? I'm the one who's eating too much. I mean, the system is exact, right? I didn't get this way from saying to him, right? Are you just trying to say this to make me feel good?
Okay, so I'm going to explain how the situation we're in is such that if someone's overweight, it's not their fault. Let's talk about food, and processed food in particular. Processed food is highly addictive, and it's everywhere. It just takes 1 minute of weakness for us to eat it and mess up our progress, right? We could be great for a week and one slip up.
Yep.
And that one slip up makes it even harder to go back on track. And it's not like we chose to eat processed foods as adults. We were given it as children, so we got addicted to it even as children. We were guilted into eating. We were told that, if you don't eat your breakfast, it's not right because there are children starving in Africa.
Right, yeah. I saw a funny story where a kid was told by his mother that, you have to eat your food. Kids starving in Africa, eat your food. And the next thing you know, there's an envelope with soggy scrambled eggs labeled "to starving kids in Africa" in the post office.
And there are some people, I should say there are a lot of people who believe that food is not an addiction. Sugar, white flour, foods that are high in oil, it's not an addiction. Guess what? Anyone who thinks that way, it's because they're not getting past their addiction. I was drinking coffee for 20 years straight every day and I never got addicted to it. That's a joke.
Absolutely.
That's how an addict thinks, and that helps facilitate the addiction. And if you're not off of it for a sustained period of time, you can't really understand why it's not addiction because you just think, what do you mean? I feel like I could stop eating it.
Right.
And we're addicted to it even from the womb, even as unborn babies.
Wow.
The studies show that if the mother eats sugar, the children have what we call a sweet tooth, aka sugar addiction. Oh, it's not politically correct to call it sugar addiction. It doesn't matter what's politically correct or what people think. The scale doesn't care if you're calling it an addiction or not. And we're surrounded by these processed foods all the time. And part of the problem is that it's not considered an addiction. That makes it even worse. Everyone around us is eating it. Duddy, what is the first ingredient in baby formula?
I don't know.
Guess what? Neither does anyone else.
Yeah, what is baby formula anyway?
You would think that if a food is being given to infants, perhaps for a full year, perhaps 6 times a day, people should at least know the first ingredient, especially when the first ingredient is corn syrup.
Oh, wow.
And forget the fact that it's corn syrup. That's another discussion. The fact that no one knows that? And you're going to tell me that society is okay?
Yeah, it's not the baby's choice to get addicted to the sugar that is being fed to the baby. You were once that baby.
If you go off of sugar, you'll know what I'm talking about. And if you look at the eating habits of people who are sick, how they can't get themselves to stop, even though it's endangering their life, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the fact that healthy food is only available if we go through a lot of trouble to make it available to us, and supermarkets are 90% unhealthy, other people's homes are 90% unhealthy. If we go to an event, 98% of it is unhealthy.
Right, and they're always pushing what they have. The supermarket is obviously pushing what they want to sell. Other people's homes will be pushing what they have for you to eat because you're there. At events, there are always unhealthy food, and they're always pushing it.
And eating properly is a job, and you don't get paid for it. Not everyone has the knowledge or the tools to make these type of changes. And not everyone has the energy. Not everyone has the time. 100 years ago and prior, processed food was not available the way it is today. Virtually no one was overweight. So you're going to tell me that, all of a sudden, everyone's just being irresponsible and it's their fault? Of course it's not their fault.
Okay. So maybe it's not their fault that they're overweight. But aren't you worried that if you convince people that it's not their fault, they won't do anything about it?
Of course not. Identifying who's at fault and who's not at fault will not do anything to stop a person from solving a problem that they have. Let me tell you a story that brings this out. A person was driving drunk and it was on the news, and there was emergency warnings and radio telling people, if you're driving on this highway, watch out, there's a drunk driver in the right lane swerving. It's very dangerous. And one person sees in the rearview mirror this drunk driver and sees everyone getting out of the way. And he says, I'm allowed to drive in the right lane. It's not my fault that this person's driving drunk. And what happened is the driver rammed right into him and he died. And on the side of the highway, there's a monument where this person's buried. And it says, this man was right, dead right. You don't not do something just because it's someone else's fault. People are still going to take responsibility, but we first need to understand that it's not our fault for being overweight.
Let me clarify again the difference between fault and responsibility. For example, it's not your fault that you need to eat to survive, right? But that obviously doesn't mean you should let yourself starve, because it is still your responsibility to do what you can with the situation. If one is born with a deadly allergy, is it her fault that she can't eat peanuts? No. But it's her responsibility to not do something that might kill her. If someone walks in on a conversation, it's not his fault that he doesn't know what they're talking about, but it is his responsibility to not start giving over his opinion in middle of that conversation. It's not your fault that you have a weight problem, but it is still your problem, your responsibility, not anyone else's. Okay, fine. So it's not our fault that we're overweight. Why does it matter?
Because if we have feelings of guilt, that will prevent us from succeeding. When we diet and then we start feeling guilty when we break our diet, because humans tend to break diets, even if they're good at it, they do. And then they gain weight, and dieting tends to make us gain weight. The dieting cycle, because dieting makes us feel guilty and then makes us gain weight. And if we don't feel guilty, it will help us lose weight. Technically, even if we don't go on a diet, just the act of not feeling guilty will help us lose weight. There are studies that show that if someone is convinced that they shouldn't feel guilty, even if they don't go on a diet, they automatically lose weight, but not enough weight. And that's why we need a diet. But guilt makes us gain weight. And let's talk about why. 12 reasons. 1, if you feel guilty, you will lose confidence.
I'm not good enough.
It's my fault I'm overweight. Who says I can solve this problem? We also won't feel entitled, and we won't justify spending money on soothing substitutes for food.
Right. I feel guilty spending money, which is valuable, to fix something that's my own fault.
Right. There's a cute comic by the book Dieting is Tough, Losing Weight is a Cinch by Rachel Lembersky. You see a woman walking out of a library with a book and is asked, why do you have this book? Yes, I have this book because I'm so excited I'm starting a diet. So she's asked, is it a diet book? No. It's just a book. It's an interesting book. I want to not be thinking about food, so I have this book as a distraction.
Yeah.
It really works. And if you think that it's your fault for being overweight, we also won't justify getting professional outside help.
Right.
We'll also hesitate to so-called impose on other people and seek out their help and support. It's my problem. No one should have to support me or help me. I would just hide the fact that I have this problem and just try to get rid of it myself.
Right. People don't realize that your own problems always tend to have an effect on the people around you regardless.
You're imposing on them by not addressing your health problems more than you're imposing on them to help you. And it's not an imposition. They want to help you. You impose on people for a lot less important things. That's what a relationship is. There's a give and take. It's not like, oh, this one area of my life, which happens to be super important, I'm not going to impose. It only came from feelings of guilt and shame. And if we feel guilty, another issue is we won't have any patience to see results. We'll set unfair goals for ourselves and we'll stubbornly hold ourselves to those goals. And if we don't achieve them, we'll feel like giving up completely. Another issue is if we identify ourselves as the enemy, we won't create walls between us and this fattening, addictive food. We also won't avoid challenging situations. We have situations that technically shouldn't have to put ourselves into because it will just make it difficult for us. But because we feel all this guilt and shame, man up, right? Fix the problem you created.
Yeah, put yourself in more challenging situations so you force yourself to do the best.
If you understand what the problem is, that it's not your fault, it's the environment's fault, you will work around the environmental challenges. Also, if you feel guilty, when you slip up, you'll make excuses. You'll rationalize why it's really okay what you're doing.
Right. You don't need to excuse and rationalize a perfectly normal occurrence. Only when we consider the slip-up to be a function of our quote-unquote immense incompetence do we start rationalizing and giving excuses.
And when you rationalize and you say, it's really okay for me to eat this and this food, or I'll fix it, or whatever it is you tell yourself, you're making it impossible to succeed. Essentially, if every time you do something you shouldn't, you're able to convince yourself it's okay, you'll never solve the problem. And this habit of rationalizing, this thing that you do, that you rationalize, is actually a habit. If you stop rationalizing, even if you eat the food, meaning you eat the food and you say, it's not okay, it's not okay, it's not okay, I'm eating it, it's not okay. You don't just make excuses why it's okay. Over time, you'll stop doing it, because as soon as it becomes not okay, you'll fix the problem. Another issue with thinking that it's our fault for being overweight is we will punish ourselves when we fail. And when we punish ourselves, we make our problem worse. How do we punish ourselves? We go to an extreme. Either we continue to indulge in all these wrong foods, right? You never see a thin person, a naturally thin person, eat a donut and say, oh, I ate a donut. I killed the day. I killed the week. I may as well keep eating. Or the other extreme we might do is we might starve. Okay, I'm not going to eat for the next day. And you know what happens after that.
You get really, really, really hungry.
Yeah, and if you weren't able to control yourself on your diet, you're certainly not going to be able to control yourself when you're starving. Also, if you think it's your fault for being overweight, you're not going to feel that good about losing weight. But if you understand that it's not your fault, you'll feel amazing when you lose weight.
If it was your fault, so then when you lost weight, you just balanced it out that you're not so bad anymore. But you didn't actually do anything good.
Yeah, and you need to feel good about your success. Also, when we slip up, we're not going to slow down and problem solve and dwell on the issue, because we don't feel good about it. We just want to, quote unquote, resolve to do better.
Right. When the problem is yourself, there's no specific set of rules of how to control yourself. So resolving to do better, that's exactly how you deal with personal problems. If you realize it's not your fault, it's the situation's fault, you can look at what you can change about it to make it better in the future.
Also, finally, if we think it's our fault, we will feel shame for being on a diet instead of being proud to be on a diet. And why is that a problem? We'll eat fattening food in private. When people try to convince us to break our diet, we won't be assertive. We'll let them affect us. We won't feel justified to turn down invitations to attend events. We'll hide that we're on a diet. We won't display our menu plan on our fridge. We don't want anyone to see that we're on a diet.
Right. It's embarrassing.
But of course, displaying our menu plan on our fridge is very helpful because we're always aware of what we're supposed to be doing. But we can't because we're so embarrassed. We may even find ourselves eating some junk food at a party because we have to keep our cover.
Right. I don't want to look like I'm on a diet. I don't want anyone to even suspect it. So I'm going to eat more candy than anyone else even.
We'll certainly not bring food to a party.
That's extreme behavior.
Yeah, we're not proud at all about our commitment to eating properly despite the challenges surrounding us. And we'll for sure avoid the scale because that makes us feel bad. So what you should do is shift the blame. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel any shame. It's not warranted, but you can still feel, and you should still feel, responsibility. Recognize what is at fault. And once you recognize what's at fault, your method of changing will be effective. So the take-home message for today is, it's not your fault for being overweight. And you better understand that, because to be successful, you have to understand that it's not your fault.
You've reached the end of this episode.
Thank you for listening.
Oh, you're welcome.
Didi, I wasn't talking to you.
You never talk to me.
Didi, can we resolve this a different time? We hope you join us next time.